Martial law is not recognized in the United States. Our president can't just decide, I'm going to deploy the troops, turn off the Constitution, and we're living under a military state. If martial law were to be declared, it would mean that we've lost our Constitution. But it's become a term that people sort of understand, right, as meaning we've lost civilian control and the military is deployed. In the United States, we are not used to the military being deployed out on the streets. Mostly we're used to them in natural disasters, the deployment of the National Guard to help move resources, save people, build tents or hospitals, and that we're quite comfortable with. But a governor can also use the National Guard for what we call law enforcement purposes, to quell riots, to even arrest people. That's under his or her authority. On the other hand, we have something known as the active military. They are prohibited, generally, from being deployed in the United States or being used for law enforcement purposes. The Posse Comitatus Act basically says, hey, active military, you can't be utilized for law enforcement purposes. In other words, the normal stuff we expect of police, except when there is a determination of quote unquote an insurrection.
I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
The president has invoked, at least in theory, his right to utilize an act called the Insurrection Act from 1807. That may seem a long time ago, but the Insurrection Act has actually been modified and amended and utilized as recently as the LA riots. What that act allows is for either a governor to ask for active military support or, and this is the most important part, for a president to authorize the use of active military in the homeland, regardless of a governor's request, because the president determines that federal law is not being enforced. Many of you have heard the use of the Insurrection Act during the Civil Rights era. That was when a president utilized active military to desegregate segregated schools in the South because governors were refusing to enforce federal law. More recently, during the LA riots, in that case, the governor actually asked the president for active military because he had lost control of sort of law and order in Los Angeles. What we're seeing today may be bad, it may be scary, it may be violent at times, but it does not amount to an insurrection by any rational interpretation of the statute. An insurrection is essentially that your governmental functions are not working. We're not seeing that on the streets of America today. The courts are still open, people are still going to work. The system has not fallen.